All right, happy Friday and happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. It is Friday the 17th of March, 2023. Brigadier General Matt Heiger broadcasting to you live, not from the PA studios at the center of the Aerospace Testing Universe, but actually from Mojave Sky, and I'll talk to you about what that place is here in a second. I am really pleased to be joined by a stunt double. Not quite the photo match of Chief Warchwanigan, but she's off, hopefully not hurting herself skiing today, yes. And we've got Chief Swiss sitting in to keep me on the rails and on time. So Swiss, welcome back.
Yes,
glad you're here.
You
Happy
so
Friday. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Yes, sir. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and so we are also joined by two guests that are, I'll say, on stage, except we're not on a stage. We're actually in the kitchen area of the Mojave Sky Community Center. This is Brooke and Alicia, and I'll let Brooke and Alicia talk about why we've asked them to join us. It was not a voluntold. It was, are you willing? And they both said yes, even Alicia, right? Right? So.
Yes.
We are here at Mojave Sky today for an event that is known as Linking Leadership. The Key Spouse Program Manager, previous, and Sparkles continued it. You'll see Kristen here in a little while. Recommended to Leslie and I that we have some facility where we can get the command teams, and a command team is a commander, a senior enlisted leader, usually a senior civilian, sometimes a first sergeant, and a key spouse, to get command teams together, but with the helping agencies, and also for them to bond command team to command team, key spouse to key spouse, and other things like that. Share problems, share opportunities, share solutions, and frankly, just to get to know each other. So this is the second Linking Leadership event. We've actually had them both here at the May Road. I guess the first one was at Corvius, but changed the names.
Yeah.
The facilities remain the same at the Mojave Sky Community Center here at 93523. I'm gonna give you 3 talking points real quick, ladies, and then you can tell where you fit on these, and I'll let you go from there. Okay. But in addition to it being a program that's a commander-run program, commander and director, it's also a person. And so that's kind of the 2 of the people that you have here on stage with us today. And when I talk to someone about, are you interested in being a key spouse, and they say, well, I'm not a traditional spouse, I don't know what to do, I could never do this or run that or whatever, and I say, well, what are you interested in, and what would you like to do, and what are you good at, what are you comfortable with? And they have answers to those questions, and then I say, great, then do that. Don't worry about this or that or the other things that are more traditional or what you've seen, because that breadth of experience and that breadth of expertise really adds meat to the value of the command team. So that's the second thing key spouse is to me, and the third thing that key spouse to me is it's a communications network. I know this sounds crazy, but if I was Lieutenant Colonel Heiger and you were Tech Sergeant, Master Sergeant, Swiss Stack, and we were the squadron commander and SEL, we are 100% approachable to all airmen and all their spouses, right?
I don't think so, sir.
Yeah, not so much, right? Not so much.
A little bit intimidating.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Especially for folks that are either brand new to the Air Force, enlisted officer, or civilian. And they don't want to talk to somebody that's in the 10, 12, 15-year mark and has the title commander or SEL or later colonel, group commander, and chief, right? The titles can be intimidating, but someone that's a spouse that is just, here as a member of the team by choice is often much more approachable.
Absolutely.
And that in that regard, I have learned so much about what's going on within the units that I've been a part of from the key spouses, and I've asked the key spouses to help me communicate things out, because as I'm sure never happens in your house, but always happens in mine, when my commander says, hey, make sure you take this home to everyone, I forget that all the time. But yeah, I'm sure you've never done that, Swiss.
Yeah, never guilty of that, right, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's another way that key spouses are a communication network. And they're a communication network amongst themselves, but they're also a communication network inside the unit as well. So it's a program. They're all people. They have lives. They have restrictions. Evidently, they have little ones. Yes. So I thought that was pretty cool. And they're also a big part of the communication network. And we're all focused at what the unit needs and what is good for the unit and needed by the unit. So with that, I'll start with Alicia, give her the first one. Another thing that I didn't mention in the Key Spouse program is that, at least at this installation, how we implemented it, I reserve the right to appoint what are known as Key Spouse mentors. Mm-hmm. It's not a rank, it's not a grade, it's a resource. And so Alicia, until you depart in a limited number of hours, is one of my Key Spouse mentors. And what Key Spouse mentors do is when a new Key Spouse, or maybe an experienced Key Spouse but new to this installation, says, how's the program run here? What's worked here? What hasn't here? That's where the Key Spouse mentors can kind of fill in the gap. If you've never been a volunteer and you've never been a Key Spouse and you're brand new to the military, you're going to struggle as a Key Spouse mentor.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean you couldn't do it, but you would struggle. However, if you're not new to the military, if you were in the military yourself, you've been a trailing spouse for a year or two, like Alicia, and you've been a Key Spouse and graduated, then you're a great resource. And so that's Key Spouse mentors are a resource for the Key Spouses. So that's Alicia's role.
Yes.
What are your quick thoughts? And is there a fourth or which one of the three is most applicable or most important to you?
Oh, I think you covered it. Yeah, so like you said, we help new Key Spouses with some of the resources that we know, and then just how to approach some Key Spouses and how to make themselves available. That's really my job. That's our role, is just to support the Key Spouses.
Yeah, the one of the things that I have observed along the way is that I have seen bases and places where the Key Spouses try to align themselves in a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like the squadron Key Spouses work for the group Key Spouse who works for the wings Key Spouse. And to be really blunt,
It's not good.
there's only one chain of command if I have anything to say about it, right?
Absolutely.
And Key Spouses at all levels are the ones that aid the entire chain of command, not just the one that appointed them or volunteered them, that accepted their volunteering. So Key Spouse mentors helped me break down a lot of those barriers at previous jobs and previous things I inherited. And I appreciate all that work you've done, Alicia.
You're welcome.
So this will be my first ask from one of the other Key Spouse mentors who I actually happen to spend a little time with as well. Leslie wanted me to remind all of you, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it recorded, that we are always in need of folks that think you can fill the role or are interested in filling the role of Key Spouse mentor and or Key Spouse. Mm-hmm. If you're a mentor, can you be a Key Spouse? I don't know why not.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing bothers me there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that in your husband's unit, they probably treated you as such.
I do both, yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And the only real dilemma then becomes, do you wear the Key Spouse mentor name tag or the Key Spouse name tag? And it probably just depends.
Yes, it does depend on the situation,
Yeah.
event.
So give me a question that you got asked or a scenario you got asked as a mentor that was like, I'm gonna have to think about that one. And then how did you find the answer for the person that asked that to you?
So today I got a question that I have gotten and I still don't know the answer to, is how do I get a Key Spouse for my unit? That has been a question I think I get asked everywhere. And you just gotta, I guess, first raise awareness. So today is a great day. So if you are a spouse and you do want to get involved in your unit, definitely this is the best way to do it. I actually started because I did not get the information from my husband's squadrons, and so I was like, I need to be a part of this. I need to know this stuff, and so I volunteered and then just kept going. So that's my question, and I don't know how to answer that. You know, things have changed, and so if you are looking for Key Spouses, definitely show that interest in a party or next event that you guys do have, or push that out and see if you can get a Key Spouse. And it's not hard. You get to know people, and it's great fun. We have fun, right?
You have fun.
Yeah.
So
I've heard. Yeah. It's good stuff. So I promise we'll come back to that one, Alicia,
yeah.
because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Okay.
But it's Brooke, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Brooke and I go way back, like way back.
I think it's like an hour now.
Yeah, it is. It is just over an hour. Like sharing Christmas cards and all kinds of other stuff. Brooke is the Key Spouse from the 417th Test and Evaluation Squadron. And I don't know if you got the short straw or you were the first one to jump on the hand grenade, proverbially or not, but thanks for being of the Key Spouses, the one that's on camera with us today.
For having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. And more importantly, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing at the 417th. So back to it's a program, it's a person, and it's a communication network. Any additional thoughts or examples or maybe some stories that you have on one or
I would
more
say
of those?
Our group works really well with the person and the communication. We, on the communication side of things, have created a spouse chat. So kind of like most squadrons, the guys have a group chat that they're a part of. We pulled all of our spouses in on it. So we have a family chat and a spouse chat. And that's made it really easy to push out information, to reach out to people, and just create friendships that way. That is active. My phone is going off all the time, and it's always my phone pinging of our spouse chat.
Do you have a specific tone for spouse chat Or is it
Yeah,
always
because it's a
just
certain
ding,
app,
ding?
so that app is just
Yeah.
constantly ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
So, but we have fun, and I think it's really created that bond among families. Like even people that can't necessarily come to every single event, like they're seeing what's going on, they're talking, making recommendations, planning our softball team, everything.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge piece that kind of then brings over the person side. My piece that I have volunteered for is I like to do cook meals for people, and so that's when people have babies, if there's family emergencies, I kind of head up the meal trains. I'm from Georgia, I'm Southern, so that's right in my alley of things that I like to do, and I like to throw parties. So family picnics, we do a Thanksgiving together, we just whatever, kids Christmas party, stuff like that.
Good stuff.
So, yeah.
And so in the lane of Brooke says, this is what I like, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I want to do. That is, I'll say, in the Venn diagram of typical or expected, or the quintessential or the prototype key spouse. But there's a lot of other key spouses that have expertise or lanes that are complementary to that.
We have a good number of key spouses. We have 5, as you mentioned, and so we have some that are really great at making flyers, and that's kind of their piece. Is
Do you
when
have
we
a
have an
techie? Do
event.
you have a techie
Oh
key
yeah,
spouse?
and so whenever we have an event, we know we can call Hannah. She's going to make the flyer. She's going to push it out. Like that part is done. So whereas like I can be more of the creativity side of it, I know like Hannah's got the executive side of pushing it out and making it happen and getting people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a good balance.
And so they've given some examples already, but I used to love the example of when I was talking to the Key Spouse training class for brand new Key Spouses, and the refresher, I'm going to plead ignorance. Sparks is going to help me out. How often do you have to do refresher training? Okay, new base. I'll give her time to figure out what she wants you to do.
Suicide
Bottom line is
awareness.
that the program updates every so often. And so if you are a key spouse or you've been a key spouse in the past, the program will be different now than it was when you joined and when you started. And certainly it has changed a lot from the time I was a squadron commander. I think the most effective command team, including the key spouse I've had, with no offense to my key spouse mentors, including one of which is actually my spouse, was when I was the commandant at TPS. And that was a highly cohesive command team, primarily because we had, well, first of all, our key spouse was phenomenal, like almost all key spouses are that I've ever worked with, but she also had a CAT card, right? So I could literally just email her, and this was a little bit before we were up everything on social, but I could email her, we could push PII, we could encrypt back and forth, she could have access behind the .mil firewalls, and she could see what's hanging on the websites. It was amazing. Just that communication network, and that was a really tight, well-functioning team. But if I had listed what a traditional key spouse was good at, that was not her. Right? She's like, I don't bake, I don't do meal trains, I can barely get my 3 kids clothes on in the day, But man, if you need a baseball coach, I'm your gal, right? Or if you need somebody to run the money for the booster club, I got that, right?
Yes.
And so she was highly complimentary with other volunteers we had at TPS along the way as well. And that was kind of my background behind the question to Brooke on, hey, you're good at this, but I bet somebody else is also these other things.
Absolutely.
Everybody brace yourselves. I'm gonna take a little dive, and then we're gonna pop back up to really awesome things. But one of the things that I put stop to commanders especially, and I think Chief, you probably got a story or two, so I'll hit you up on this.
Yes, sir.
I want key spouses in the command teams, and then the key spouse network, not just within the unit, but amongst key spouses, to be robust and to know each other. Yeah. And you need to be prepared and have those very tight ties, because when it's game day, when it's your key spouse Super Bowl, 50% of the time, those are not good days.
Yeah.
Right?
Precisely,
And
yes,
so
sir.
you need that team and you need that cohort, and you are going to know who to lean on, or, oh my gosh, Alicia, key spouse mentor, my unit just had bad thing, blah. Mm-hmm. Have you ever experienced that? And if not, do you know anybody that has? Right? And so that's where the network can help out the key spouse while you help out the network. Now, you can't appoint a key spouse while you're dealing with a tragedy.
Nope. It's too late.
It's too late. Mm-hmm. You can't learn what you're good at and what you like to do and what you don't like to do in the middle of a tragedy, right? You can't build a communication network inside the unit or amongst key spouses in the middle of a tragedy. So you have to have all that in place so that when it is game time, full-on Super Bowl or whatever your analogy is, you're ready. Bad things are bad things, right? And I don't need to necessarily get it super deep, but there's a reality here. And I will tell you, if you have not been through one of those yet, it is so reinforcingly good that what we did for that person, for that family, for that unit is huge. It has happened multiple times for me, and Chief, again, I promised I'd give you this one. So give me an example, only go as deep as you need to for the topic, but drive home one of those where pre-establishing key spouse network, recognizing strengths and weaknesses of key spouses, and having a key spouse was huge.
Yes, sir. I think I have a really practical example that happened when I was an SEL of a unit it was a blended unit in contracting, but we had a pretty robust key spouse network, and we had a bad tornado come through. and a lot of times spouses will say, oh, I don't want anything to do with that, don't contact me. And that's okay, right? But the key spouse network, in that case where a member, a spouse couldn't find their member, this young master sergeant, reached out to the key spouse network, not to me as the SEL or the commander of that organization, reached out to a key spouse that had once talked to them and said, I cannot find my husband. That got back to us through the key spouse network, so we knew he was missing. We didn't know he was missing because we were still going through the recall process and all that, and we were able to put our arms around her through the key spouse network and make her feel comfortable, and the kids feel comfortable while we found that master sergeant. It was just made the biggest deal in the world, the biggest difference in the world in that circumstance. I have many, many more. I don't know that we have time. I've had personal experiences where key spouses came in and helped my spouse. But it's just that strength of community and that importance of it. You can't weigh it in gold. It's invaluable. It's amazing.
So from the time the tornado hit until the time the network was fully engaged, how many minutes or hours?
It was less than 60, sir.
Yeah.
Before we had people out looking for him, trying to locate him. We had people retrieving the spouse and kids, putting them back together because they were separated, and we were able to get this master sergeant located within a few hours, rescued, if you will.
Yeah. So I didn't know what his answer was going to be to that. Full disclosure, right?
Yes,
we don't pregame these.
We do not.
That is a very good example, and there are many others. And no joke, you don't know when you're going to need that depth of community. But I will tell you, folks. It is because of the strength of the bonds that we can call this an Air Force family. And you can't have the connection within the unit and then the connection amongst units if you don't have a robust network of interpersonal relationships.
Yes, sir.
And this is one of those examples. And so when I say key spouse network, that is one of those huge examples of the interpersonal network that makes this family. Now, is it just family? Is it family all the time? No. And like families, sometimes you're like, I don't really want to go to Uncle Joey's again. Come on, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and especially when it's a really great event, it's great to celebrate together. And when it's not an awesome event, it's really important to have that network in and around you. As a commander, I will tell you one of the things that's been very beneficial to me as a commander when I'm holding the unit or carrying the emotional baggage of a lull, to have a key spouse that I can turn to that was not necessarily directly involved, but able to help me and go work things or just be a sounding board. That was a huge benefit as well. Conversely, if you're a unit director or a unit commander, you got to have the same sounding board for your key spouse, and you got to say, hey, Brooke, here's somebody that I want you to talk to. I don't care what you talk about, but I want you to talk to them for a little while. And that's something you got to do for your key spouses as well. So, what is something, so you've been here since 2019, I heard earlier. Yes. I bet what you arrived in 2019 and into early 2020 was very different than where you are today and what you do for unit stuff.
Yes.
Right? And I bet you went through a change and then another change. You ended up in one place, two places, a completely different place.
Yes.
What did you learn as a key spouse or in the group of key spouses through the depths of like wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 of the pandemic that's of benefit now?
I became a key spouse during the pandemic.
Okay.
Because I arrived in 2019. My husband went on a long TDY. The minute we got here, he was
course.
out. And I had 2 under 2, and so
2 under 2.
Yeah, I had 2 tiny humans under the age of 2, and I was lost. And my key spouses while he was gone, I mean, there would just randomly be Domino's delivered to my door, like if they heard my kids had the flu, or they babysit, so I go to a doctor's appointment. And that was the first time in our Air Force career that I'd experienced a unit that had a Key Spouse program that was there. Whether I asked it, like I didn't even have to say anything, and they just showed up at my door. And once we started experiencing the pandemic and I got to know our squadron a little better, we had some people that were about to be moving, and we did have some tragedies in our squadron, and that's when I knew it was time to step up and to be that same person that those kind of give back where it was given to me. And when I became a Key Spouse, I did everything virtually. All my training was online because it was in the thick of it. And my main goal was for no one to feel alone. I didn't want any spouse or any family to be here and feel like they didn't have anyone to turn to in an emergency. And that's kind of the beginning of my Key Spouse journey.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So when did you sign, or whatever whatever the command rescue to do?
It was January of 2021, I believe, was when I finally could get my training done and things were kind of starting back up.
So we're 10 months into the pandemic.
Yep.
And it was the before shots pandemic, right? They hadn't quite operationalized yet.
Yep.
We were getting close.
Yep.
And that was a brave new world at that point. Yeah. So, well, thanks for sharing that vignette, and I'm glad you're on the team. Again, I want to foot stomp that there's a misconception among some units that you can only have one Key Spouse at a time. That is not true. It is probably unrealistic to have every spouse in your squadron also as a Key Spouse, although think about how awesome that would be, Sparkles. I mean, that'd be fantastic, right? But that doesn't mean you can have only one. And in fact, if you're any unit of any moderate to large size, it makes sense to have 2, 3, 4, because gosh, you probably want to take leave and take vacation and take a little time off, or you never get sick, right? Because your kids have turbocharged your immunity at this point. Right?
It's nice to have a group of people that, I mean, even that sounding board that you were talking about. We meet quarterly, the 5 of us, and we soundboard. You know, we all have split up our unit into, like, we have spouses that we make sure that we check in on, and that way we know everyone's getting a contact at least once every now and then, like, hey, you good? You know, 'cause someone doesn't want it all the time, but it's just good to know that they have someone there.
Exactly.
And it's a lot more fun to do it with your friends. So it's a lot more fun.
Wholeheartedly, yeah, wholeheartedly. I'm not trying to pull at the heartstrings, Alicia. I'm not. I promise. With this next statement / question.
No.
But this is actually Alicia's last event as a Key Spouse mentor. Driving out when? Assuming your little one, not so little, but little one makes it. Driving out when?
Well, Monday.
Yeah.
For spring break, and then pack up and leave. Yes.
Yeah. So this is her parting event as a Key Spouse mentor. I'll say at this location.
At this location. Yes.
Seed the field for Barksdale when you get there. Looking back on the time that you guys have been here and the Key Spouse stuff that you've been involved in, give me that was amazing and I never would have anticipated, and that was really tough, and here's how I would have handled that differently or better or whatever. Give me a couple thoughts as passing on your wisdom gathered as a Key Spouse mentor the last couple of years.
We did go through COVID, so that was the rough part that I've never experienced before.
Yeah, nobody alive has either.
Yeah, and so when we came here, husband B-21, highly civilian, whole new world in a bomber base with mass deployment. This is not going to answer your question, but I'm going to go with this. So everything I knew about Key Spouse was completely different here. It's a test base. We don't have mass deployments. We don't have 500 people gone. I don't have 500 spouses. We don't have all the people for Hearts Apart. We have people all over half of California. So to reach those spouses is very hard. And in COVID, when no one's coming to work and we don't know anybody, coming to 2019 as well, right before the pandemic. So there was a lot of differences here that I had to learn how to get along with people and to hatch a P or here. And so we did the same thing. We broke our Key Spouses up, and one had to hatch because that's where they lived, and it was easy for them to get in touch with people during the pandemic. And then we had some on base, which was me. And then we had some in Palmdale, Lancaster, and Rosamond. So that was something I never dealt with anywhere else because we were just all mainly located in one general area. So it wasn't hard to communicate with anybody. Then you had the civilians who don't want to be communicated with because it's a different mesh of people. Now I'm going to backtrack on that. One of our Key Spouses was a civilian spouse. And so working with a civilian spouse and trying to figure out, oh, you kind of do feel kind of like we are. You are secluded, even though you're not wearing the uniform. Your husband's still a civilian, and he got a job here, so you have to be here. Where a lot of us get dragged here as well. So
Previous base was?
me?
Yeah.
My not?
Yeah, I remember it was Northern Tier. I was going to guess wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one remote and isolated base, slightly different weather, but just
Yes.
as windy.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. People in the audience are saying yes.
Yes.
To a remote and isolated installation. Your last base in Vegas, so Creech,
Yeah.
but everybody lived in Vegas. One of the things I'll highlight, Edwards, living, whether you're stationed at Nellis or stationed at Creech, living in Vegas, living in a big city, but being stationed at the Air Force Base nearby, there is a whole bunch of key spouse networking in general that her Vegas experience will inform folks like you as you go off to Shreveport, which certainly isn't Vegas, but is still larger than Minot, or the community immediately outside the gate here. And that is huge value for inbound families, even if you don't intend to be an inbound key spouse, that Alicia will take with her to help folks that are going out to remote and isolated installation. And that Brooke, I'm sure, has chatted your ear off already about just expect the big town. And another thing that you are likely to see, right, he's going to Global Strike staff, right?
Yes.
Woo, baby. Welcome to the staff as a unit world. That is going to be a unique organizational experience.
Yes.
So also heavy civilian, so
Yeah.
Alicia will have that, but there will be key spouses there that that Alicia knows going forward that she can lean on, and they'll appreciate what learning she brings to them as well. So that's a huge natural flow. We are definitely going to miss you on all the teams that you're a part of.
Thank you.
And I threatened canceling her husband's orders to keep Alicia. What you don't know is that as of yesterday, she was still in the protocol shop here, and so 2 huge holes on the installation that we have to fill. The good news is the boots aren't too big, so we might be able to find a foot to fill, but we won't
Maybe.
find someone that'll easily fill the roles.
Yes.
So I'm thrilled to have worked with you in all these
thank
roles. The first place that I actually met Alicia was like literally the day I checked in.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
To take command, and she said, "Don't lose the remote. It's like $150 deposit or something like
Yes,
that. I can't
for the
remember what it was.
garage remote, yes.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh, the garage door.
Oh my gosh.
So I do remember that conversation,
do.
and you welcomed me here. I think it's very fitting that publicly I get to say,
Oh.
travel safe, and
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you around the big Air Force.
Yeah.
going
Small
forward.
world, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, any parting shots? Or maybe an answer to Alicia's question that she was asked on how do you recruit a key spouse, or how do you find a key spouse? And then Sparkles is on deck. We'll get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say just get to know your families. The more you pull your families in, the more you get to know the personalities of the spouses that you have, and there's someone in there, and there's someone that has the inkling, they're bored at home and they want to make friends and they want to be there for other people and not feel that way that they feel, and getting those families in and really including them in on as much as you can as a squadron to create that family atmosphere. And that's how I was pulled in, and I feel like that's how we've continued to build our program, is just personally being like, hey, like as a key spouse, hey, we want you. Like, we think you'd be really great at this. You'd be an asset to our team, and nobody said no so far. So
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
So once it's sustaining combustion in a unit or in a group with the units with each other, it's actually relatively simple to find replacements along the way. But if the person that asked Alicia earlier today, like, hey, how do I find a key spouse? How do I get a key spouse? I'll tell you what, man, they are not issued, right?
No.
You can't just go to clothing sales and say, I'll take one key spouse, please.
Yes, yeah. Give me 5 of your best.
You have to go convince someone that this is something they're interested in doing. And I would argue strongly that often the largest impediment on quote unquote getting a key spouse, which I would say is more finding a key spouse, is that many of the spouses don't know the opportunity is available.
Yeah.
And so to you, the unit commander or director that's looking for your key spouse, go pound on your folks and say, take this message home. We are looking for
Please
someone
take
that's
it home.
interested in X, Y, and Z. And if you have any interest in that, come talk to us. Or come hang out with one of the folks that are key spouses here locally, and hey, what do you do? How has it been? And you might like the network, you might like the work, or you may not. But in any case, you're more aware of what's going on. So that to me is kind of the couple steps down the road. But
We're not scary.
No, they're definitely not scary. I've never been to a bad or boring key spouse sponsored event. That is true. And I'll tell you, it is such a big change. I mean, you're 29, and when Chief and I entered, this was a pickup game. There was nothing formalized about it across the Air Force.
Absolutely.
And commanders, and at the time, often the spouse who was key was the commander's spouse.
Yes.
Yeah. That may or may not work.
Some barriers, right?
Sometimes it does work, but it doesn't always work. Once we made that not be the requirement or the expectation, the program has flourished, especially.
Yes, sir. And I really, if I may,
Sure.
I really like the idea that, like you mentioned, both of you mentioned, tapping in, and you did too also, sir, tapping into what you're good at. Because I think when we kind of brought this many years ago into the fold, because I remember in Air Force that there really wasn't a key spouse.
Yep.
But when we kind of brought it in, it was kind of like you were required to do this, right? You are the party planning person. That's not what it's about anymore. It's about something you want to do already, you're good at. Like you said, you're good at planning parties and stuff like that, and you're good at teaching others how to do this stuff. That's really what it's about. So something you're good at, something you're passionate about, ask about being the key spouse, and you get to do something you love already, and you get to give back and be part of this community and this family. Because really, I think it's said all over, but we bring in individuals in our great Air Force, but we retain families. And this is a family game. This is absolutely a family game. You get to a certain point where your family gets a vote, and the family votes, we're done. So, and key spouses are a huge part of that.
Yeah, I would say a couple things on that. First, yes, you recruit the individual, you retain the family, because it's a team sport, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, family life is a team sport. The unit is a team sport. The Air Force is a team sport.
Absolutely.
And you either win or lose as the team, and you can measure that in any one of many different ways. The other item there is that if the term, so it's a refresher, right? Key spouse is three things: a program, a person, and a communication network. Yes. But is it only for people with something on this finger? The answer is no, right? So if you are a person that is a significant other of a member of a unit and you are interested in volunteering to that unit, you do not have to be a spouse of anyone. Approach that unit commander and say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering. I hear there's this thing titled Key Spouse, but you know what? I'd like to do those kinds of roles. I'd like to participate in that kind of event. And that's also it's a misnomer, right?
Yes, sir.
It started with good intent, but it might be outlived its usefulness. And then the other one is that you don't necessarily even have to be attached to one unit. Like, for example, in a previous instantiation at a group level, they had spouses that flowed amongst the entire group. So they actually had all the spouses attached at the group, and then they flowed them out in the squadrons, and they did things together as squadrons and together as key spouses across the entire group. And that worked very well. And it was the group commander's spouse, who also happened to be a key spouse mentor, but she was the one that hey, why don't we just have 15 of these, and then we can flow wherever, and the parties are better, and the crosstalk's better, and the support is better, and none of the squadron commanders objected, and so they went off and they said, do you have any concerns with that? Nope. If the commanders involved are fine, then I am totally 100% good with that. So there's a lot of ways that you can adapt and morph and update the program based on the people that are interested in participating, and then what the commanders want or need out of their team. So, with that, I'll say, Brooke, great to meet you. Thanks for doing everything you've done. And this base and this community is a lot better because you and everybody that you work with is here and doing what you do every day.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks. Great to meet you. Alicia, I already said it. I'm not going to tear up on camera, I promise, but we are going to miss you. Barksdale's really lucky to get you, and then that guy that's going to go to the staff. He's kind of a little sidecar, and you can tell him I said that, or make him watch this portion of the video. And congratulations on launching the next gen as well. I hope he recovers enough to come join you for spring break.
Yes,
and the move. So
thank you, I appreciate that.
Send us a note.
I sure will.
All right.
Stay in touch.
Safe travels.
And while they're quietly getting off stage, but because we're not in the studios, and changing out with Sparkles, our Key Spouse Program Manager, amongst many other things, I want to remind everyone that this is our weekly town hall. And because of that, we've got somebody monitoring the 707-412-8922 chat line. So again, it's area code 707-412-8922. Call in with your You can call if you want. They might answer, but more than likely, the better response is to text in.
Yes.
You can text in a comment. You can text in a question. You can text in accolades. You can text in who you think is going to win March Madness.
Yeah, that's right.
Or you want to throw down on beating Chiefs bracket because mine's already busted.
Mine's busted too, sir. It's
So I noted
upsets.
I noted that my grandfather's alma mater is Kansas, and I noticed they're a #1 seed, and I'm like, yeah, this is the year I got to pick Kansas to run the table. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Anyway, my point is that if you have a comment, a question, or anything else, 707-492-8922. If we don't have a chance to get to your questions or comments today, we'll put them in the scroll for the next time we do have the questions. All right. With that in mind, anything burning a hole in the question inbox?
Nothing?
Okay.
Right.
We're getting, I think she said bring it. Right? Yeah.
She's ready.
Yeah,
Bring it.
she's ready. So if you got something, please text it in. Kristen Diaz.
Hello.
Welcome. Did you know we were going to pull you on camera?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. It is a little more fun when I pull people by surprise, but glad you're here.
Me too, thank you.
Sparkles, as she goes by, and everybody knows her as, you have your own brand, and it's very effective.
Thank you.
The branding is awesome. Is one of our glorious FSS employees, and she works at the Military Family Readiness Center, MFRC. Finally, Chief, I'm elated. Finally, there are not 2 AFRCs on this base.
Yes.
That's right.
Finally, right? Armstrong Flight Research Center can have their acronym back.
Yes.
And you guys have your own, right?
Yes.
It's great. So, as an employee in the FSS that works at MFRC, Key Spouse is one of your programs. So we'll get to that one last.
Okay.
Name a couple other ones that you also do, in addition to keeping folks like us straight on a daily basis.
So I assist Miss Pam Natali with the Transition Assistance Program, where you guys have to go through that before you can go be a civilian. I'm the Relocation Program Manager. I get to welcome everybody into the newcomers orientation. I get to, send everybody off to their next base or to their retirement, and I manage all of our calendars, and I do the Key Spouse program.
So she estimated 17 programs earlier today. I thought that was appropriate on March 17th, and I'm sure there's a couple others. My point is that Key Spouse is not Kristen's program. It's not Sparkle's program, right? She's the program manager. So she's the Key Spouse's interface with higher headquarters, with Air Force. She's the one that sets up and schedules training, or, hey, Key Spouses or mentors, what do you want at this next training? She's the one that invites folks like us, hey, come talk to the Key Spouses. And so that is her role and her job. She may or may not also be, or the person doing that role may or may not be a Key Spouse.
Yes.
Generally speaking, they have a lot of experience there. I know very few Key Spouse program managers that haven't at some point been a Key Spouse. So they know what have some practical experience in what they're doing.
Yes.
And they're also the person that has to deal with no, we're not going to do it that way while I'm here. Changes, right? So when I change out in August, I'll do my level best to let Colonel Wickert know that the program is running perfectly and he shouldn't change a bit. But if he does, then well, thanks in advance.
Then I'll call you and say he's changing things.
Yeah. And you know what I'll do? I'll say call Jody.
Okay.
Because she's his real commander.
Okay.
And she's also phenomenal. My point is that this is the team that helps facilitate the Key Spouse program on the installation. The installation commander and the Key Spouse program manager. It's really important for me to foot stomp that is not her only responsibility and her only job. And a lot of folks make that assumption in what you can do. The Key Spouse mentors are generally not those people. And I don't think the Key Spouses are either, but a few other folks do. So you have the opportunity, like live stream into the world. Correct me to 100% on anything that you want to update or that I said slightly off.
Nothing you said was off.
Okay. And then your thoughts on this event that's happening. Oh, by the way, folks, again, we're at Mojave Sky Community Center in 93523. This event that we're broadcasting from today is called Linking Leadership. Key Spouses helping agencies and command teams. If you can't hear the noise in the background, I can sure hear it. It may or may not be coming through on the mics, but they're all in the room next to us, and they're networking, right? They're doing real work in there. It just sounds like they're having fun. I think they're having fun too.
Yeah.
But
both.
It's a great stuff. This is our support for the program. And Kristen and Leslie actually ran this to ground, and Nicole did a ton of work as well. So congratulations on this event. I hope that something like this continues now that we are hopefully into endemic phase.
hopefully.
of COVID,
Yeah.
right? Fingers crossed. Lots of shots in arms, but we'll go from there. So with that, questions, comments, thoughts, this event, Key Spouse in general, recent updates, soon pending updates?
No new updates really. The Key Spouse program, it's near and dear to my heart. I was dual hatting it for a while, FSS and MXS, great organizations. I did a lot of support, a lot of outreach, and then I became the program manager. And so I decided, it was time to step down, let somebody else take the reins. But it was a really rewarding experience, and I'm so glad that, we have all of these Key Spouses on the base, and they really, truly enjoy what they do as well.
Yeah. So you heard me talk about it's a program, it's a person, and it's a network. The program's relatively straightforward, and we can read the AFMAN or the AFI or the DAFI or whatever the lead is, and we can figure all that out. But give me a couple examples of the diversity of folks that you have. So the quintessential Key Spouse are folks that are that meet a stereotypical set, but that's not all the Key Spouses that we have. So give me some. You'd have never guessed that this person was one of our Key Spouses.
Oh, it's great. We have like junior airmen, junior NCOs, senior NCOs, all the way up to all officer ranks who are Key Spouses, and I think that's just phenomenal. Because sometimes, the lower ranking spouses they seem to be intimidated by higher ranks. I don't understand that.
It's never been a problem for you. Yeah, clearly. And that is one of her assets, and I say that literally 100% candid.
I'll just come up and start a conversation. It's fine.
Yeah.
But when I was one of those junior spouses, I was intimidated because that was the mindset then. It was like, no, you don't talk to them. You don't talk to them. But now it seems as, we're all progressing and evolving. It's just everybody just embraces the Key Spouse mindset.
Yeah. So one of the things independent of what the program says you must do or you should do, one of the things that I want to foot stomp to everyone is that it is not uncommon. It's not the majority certainly, but it is not uncommon for a couple that are mil-mil, for this member of that partnership, that team, to be the Key Spouse for this member's unit, right? So it doesn't have to be a civilian spouse that's the Key Spouse for a unit, and we have to have at least a handful of those Key Spouses here on the installation today. And so if you are a military member married to another military member, or at this base and in the 21st Century Air Force, you're married to a civilian that's working on the installation, you could easily become a Key Spouse to that unit that way.
I did just receive an email yesterday asking if a civilian who is unmarried act as a Key Spouse, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
So I was like, please, let me provide the training, get that letter signed by your commander, and let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess in theory, if this is a volunteer role you want to do as a civilian, even if you're the member of the unit and you want to do those roles and have that training and be a part of that teamwork, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm not telling you can or cannot, but I think that's where it's a program, and it's up to the unit commander to decide what their unit would most benefit from.
Absolutely.
And I inherited the phrase and I loved it, so I've incorporated it as well. A lot of folks get held back by the capital K, capital S, Key Spouse, and got to be legislated and got to have all this stuff and formal. And my predecessor was fond of the phrase, I would rather have spouses that are key with a little k than a whole squadron full of capital K, capital S Key Spouses. And I thought that was the perfect thing. John Tykert, very smart guy. Thank you, Dragon, Mr. Dragon, to all of us now.
Yes.
I thought that phrase was very much important on be the person that you can be as a spouse. And if you want to formally become a Key Spouse, great. If not, then we'd still rather have you volunteering and participating. Yeah. And so there are some spouses that I'm sure you interface in that capacity as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the program, or the Key Spouse itself as a person. Now let's talk about Key Spouse communications. Give an example or two that you've seen of ways that they communicate, or the ability for them to communicate in ways that crusty old folks like us could never accomplish. And no, it's we laugh, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'm that intimidating, and then I watch people divert their walk so they don't have to walk by me and say hi, right? Because and it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yes,
Today, as I was walking out of the club and people were eating their lunch, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that is him," and they would quickly look at their plate. And a key spouse communication network in your unit can help fill those gaps and cover those blind spots. You either personally have examples of ways you've made connections as a key spouse, or you've watched it happen, or both.
Kind of both. So we have a lot of Facebook pages. I still run the one for MXS. We do the one for the key spouses on base.
That's the 8-letter F word.
The 8-letter F word.
Yeah. FASEBOOK.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know
yeah.
y'all don't do Facebook.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of Facebook groups. Now you made me lose where I was going with that.
No, but ways to communicate. It's the ways that the key spouse network communicates, right?
Yeah.
And look, I don't mind social networks at all. I mind it when they sell people's data and make a profit off it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox.
Streams because we're talking about something serious.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hypothetically. Not.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. Anyway.
So there is the Edwards key spouse page, and then there is an Air Force wide key spousing network Facebook page, which is phenomenal. Every day there's a question about something like, hey, how do I get spouses involved? Hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And you just have so much support from all of the key spouses across the DoD. And so I just, I think that's amazing that all of these key spouses are so willing to help each other.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suspect and I'm sure Chief does, but I'll say our most vocal key spouse advocate, and certainly she was a key spouse mentor, was Dawn Goldfein. So General Goldfein's wife. They're the ones that, as they floated up through command, made it a bigger and more impactful program for the benefit of the unit and the benefit of the people. And I think that's a big legacy of hers, in that it's just what we do. It's just part of the Air Force family, and it's a big part of the Air Force family. So, if I asked you a number and you could guess, how many of our key spouses have volunteer CAT cards? Is it
One.
It's one. Okay, so it's not zero.
I think it's one. I know it's
All
not
right.
zero.
All right, good.
It's not zero.
So one of the things that a lot of commanders don't know, and a lot of key spouses don't know, is that it is entirely plausible that if you are a key spouse volunteer, you can get a volunteer CAT card. A volunteer CAT card allows you to do crazy things like read and write email.
That's right. Yeah.
Encrypted. And read and write encrypted email. To log on, to get behind the .mil domain firewall, to actually look at all the pages on the Air Force portal, or anything behind the edwards.af.mil page that is CAC protected, and on and on and on. Now, it's not as powerful as Chief's CAT card, but it is very, very, very exceptionally enabling as you are trying to communicate with military members, especially if some of those military members are downrange.
Yes.
And then bringing that information as the key spouse into the spouse domain or the family domain, and there's training. Trust me, there's plenty of training on how do I not move PI in the wrong way and get in trouble and get my commander, blah 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 blah. Right? Plenty of training before we let you run with that tool. But it is entirely possible for you to get an online profile and Outlook email and all those kinds of things, and that ability to bridge the gap between the spousal network and the network at work is really important. And I'm glad it's still one. My offer is that it needs to be more than one. Full disclosure, it ain't fast, but it is worth the effort. So if you're a brand new key spouse and you're relatively new on Edwards, you have an installation command team here that fully supports key spouses that are interested in getting a volunteer CAT card to do that. Kristen is one of the stops, and she can help walk you through the process. You know what else Kristen is? You know what else Sparkles is? Sparkles is the person that comes up to me or Dee, like imagine it was Dee here, or soon Dee's replacement, and says, hey, we are at a roadblock with an off-base agency, blah, 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 and getting key spouse so-and-so's CAT card enabled. Would you be able to help us? And we say, absolutely, we would love to help you unstick that problem.
Yes.
And unfortunately, not always, but unfortunately that is often what it takes.
Yeah.
Because it's unusual, but it is certainly completely legit. And so that's my big push, my big ask on that. My key spouse, literally my key spouse, 21 years and counting, asked me to remind everyone today while we're broadcasting, we don't ever have enough key spouses. We don't ever have enough people that are multi-time key spouses that volunteer to be key spouse mentors, right? And the more and robust the key spouse mentors are, the less work Kristen needs to do in that lane, and the more she can do A, her other programs, but B, she can then deep dive into program changes and be a little less in the training and care and feeding of the key spouses. There's a lot of opportunity here if you want to be a key spouse mentor, and there's a crazy amount of information if you want to be a key spouse. If you are interested in looking into key spouse, this is your lady. MNFRC is the location where she works. Any other contact information besides the 8-letter F word that you want to give them?
Can we blast my email address?
If you would like to blast your email address, I'm sure we can stream that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the Edwards Key Spouse page on that social media platform.
8-letter F word?
Yeah, that henceforth will not be named.
Yeah. Or they can go there through their commander.
Absolutely. Or you can contact commander. You can contact any of the first sergeants. You can contact anybody that I would say is a commander's spouse.
Right.
They will know how to contact those folks as well.
I dare say they could text the line,
Yes.
and we could give them information.
Absolutely.
through that too.
Text in your name and contact information to 707-412-8922, and we can reach back to you on how you would contact folks.
Absolutely. Always happy to help people get going.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, what else? Parting shots.
Key Spouse program is really amazing. Please talk to your commanders, get involved. It's a rewarding program. I had a really great time doing it. I had great support from, both of my command teams when I was dual hatting it especially. It truly does make an impact.
It absolutely does make an impact. And on behalf of all the commanders and the command teams here, thank you for leading that program. I know that, so the other ones you listed were also extremely important to commanders, so I'm not going to tell you it's the most important one, but collectively you run a really important profile. You're an extremely important organization. And folks, if you would like to see an example of a low density, high demand, and high impact place, go visit MNFRC and all the folks that are working for you and for us there. It's a pleasure working with you and for you. And
Same.
You're rocking the green today. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
I'm told 3 minutes.
3
I'm
minutes,
getting
oh my
the
gosh.
vertical nugget nod. Anything that you want me to address before we call it a week? All right. You cleared off.
Happy Friday.
Right.
Happy Friday. All right. Chief and I are going to try and close it out here. One of the things that I encourage you to do, if you have not been to the Mojave Sky Community Center, we had plenty to talk about, so we didn't need to do it, but we had in the backdrop planned, all the helping agencies were here. They were ready to come and talk to you a little bit about who they are, where they are, what do they do. If you don't know who the helping agencies are, that's okay. There's a helping agency icon
Yes, sir.
on almost every single device. Click that, it gives you the big long list. You can go into any chapel, Chapel 1, Chapel 2, the chapel annex, and go, hey, I hear about helping agencies, and I don't necessarily want to talk to a chaplain or chaplain's religious affairs airman, but I'm interested in this one. And they can easily redirect you. One of those chapels happens to be across the street, Chapel 1, across the street from our helping agencies facility. No wrong door, I don't know what else to call it, but that is a huge capability that we are operationalizing as we speak and as we record here. And in that building, and back me up here, Chief, we've got SAPR, the SAPR offices.
Yes, sir.
We have the Employee Assistance Program. She's in the background and here today to talk to folks. That is counseling available at no additional charge for civilians. We have Violence Prevention Integration.
Yes, sir.
Community Services Coordinator. We have the DEIA, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. Office portfolio. I don't know. It's grown a lot.
Yes, sir, it has.
But those are traditional equal opportunity, special emphasis month or special employments month, and then a big portfolio of other programs in that DEIA line. And I think that covers everybody that has an office in
Yes, sir. I
The
believe-
No Wrong Door facility.
Correct. Yes,
So,
sir.
so on base, I'm not going to give you the building number because I don't know it, and that's okay. Go to Chapel One and kind of walk towards the base theater, and it'll be on your right. And that's, you can go to any door there. There's literally no wrong door. Hey, I'd like to talk to somebody about this, and they'll be able to get you to the right place and right person. There are a couple of heavenly agencies that can't or aren't there. One of them is the military mental health folks. They are up
Correct.
at the clinic. But if you walk in there and say, I'm military, I'd like to talk to a mental health professional, they'll help connect you to one, and maybe even do a warm handoff if that's what's required. And the other organization that I also consider a helping agency that's not in the building or across the street at the chapel was actually the JAG office. So
That's
legal
right.
assistance. And they can also help hand you off there. Any others you want to highlight as we talk about helping agencies, key spouses, and other folks being one of those?
No, none in particular. I recently had the honor to come over and see that building. It's beautiful. And they're pulling in more, as many as they can, that are applicable, so there really is no wrong door. There's even some private entrances too, so maybe you don't want to see somebody to see you walking in there. There's private entrances, so you can go get help you need also.
Yeah, you can reach out electronically as well to any of the helping agencies, and they can meet you as required. If you're not sure how to go or how to get, and you want to keep it very close hold, chaplains. Phone a friend, phone a chaplain. That's a huge thing, and
Yes,
I
sir.
use that resource a lot. So we're right at time. I want to thank you, a couple of folks for helping, the PA team for broadcasting from out of your network. As always, you guys rock. I'm glad you're here. Glad to be a part of your team. Thank you for doing all you did. And thank you for rolling with our punches today while we simultaneously did two events at once. Thanks for sitting in for Dee.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully she does not hurt herself this year while she's off playing in the white stuff. And I know she appreciates having that time off and has full faith and confidence in you. And for those of you that don't know, Dee is promoting to civilian.
Yes, very soon.
And Swiss is going to spend more time in my office than at the MSG
Yes,
for the majority of the
for a
summer
little bit of time,
until
yes, sir.
until Dee's replacement can make it in from Turkey. So you can see a little bit more of Swiss throughout the summer. And so here it is, the 17th of March. We're clearing off. Next Friday, on the 24th of March, same channels, same feeds, same time, 1500 local, which is Pacific. We're going to do a wing-wide Deox data dive and talk about all those things related as the teaser for next week's broadcast.
Awesome.
So, Chief, any final thoughts before I clear everybody off for the week?
Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Happy St. Patty's Day. Do something to recharge a little bit, rest a little bit, come back, and we'll see you Monday ready to go.
Have a great weekend. Go outside, enjoy the sun, enjoy the
it's so
weather,
nice out there.
and oh my gosh, go someplace where you can see all the wildflowers.
Yes.
It was
Super bloom's coming.
Oh my gosh, super bloom, baby.
Yes.
I'm hoping. All right, folks, have a great weekend. Signing off for now from the center of the Aerospace Testing Universe.